Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Pinoy Step Podcast with me, Anton Roxas. I can't believe it. It's already been a month, but we've been having such a great time here on the show. Pinag-uusapan natin yung mga latest happenings sa mundo ng basketball sa NBA, and we are entering the second week of playoff basketball. Kaya naman mas iinit ang ating mga usapan dito sa ating show. And of course, joining us once again to break down the early goings in the NBA playoffs is none other than Migs Gomez. Brother, it's great to have you back on the show.
Great to be here, Anton. I'm very happy to be talking about the playoffs with you. We just got started with it. The action is getting heated up, so let's get to it.
From buzzer beaters to blockbuster trades, this is your front row seat to the NBA.
Here at Pinoy Step Podcast, we go deep into every play, every move, and the insider stories you won't hear anywhere else.
All the highlights, all the hot takes, walang mintis. This is the Pinoy Step Podcast, powered by the Arena Plus Sportsbook. Sama-sama sa arena.
At Migs, iibahin natin yung ating atake for episode 5. Normally, sinisimulan natin yung show with a fast break of headlines. Ngayon, dahil nasa playoffs tayo, and of course, gusto rin namin malaman yung predictions mo. Dahil kami ni Christian, we gave our predictions during episode 4. We want you to lay out your predictions as well.
Well, first of all, I love Coach Christian. Alam ko na Laker fan siya, and I would understand if he would have takes na, of course, would be pro-Lakers. But I gotta be honest, as soon as that Luka Doncic trade happened, I wasn't convinced that they were going to go all the way, especially if you think about the OKC Thunder. That team has been very dominant in the Western Conference. They just won by 51 points in game number 1 versus the Memphis Grizzlies. My goodness. So that would just convince me even further that OKC could be the real deal in this season for the Western Conference. Your take? What was your take again? Was it Denver?
Yun na nga eh. Gusto ko humingi ng pasensya sa lahat ng mga fans ng OKC. I would like to apologize. I own up to my terrible take during last week's episode that Dallas was going to upset OKC. They didn't even make the playoffs. Oh
yeah,
my God.
Man.
Christian and I, may resibo ako, so we cannot hide. It's all over the internet. It's written here. Christian and I predicted, pare, na ang Dallas ang aabante and make it to the playoffs as the 8th seed. Now, since you're here, Migs, and we want, of course, to get your takes as well, did you see Memphis actually making it to the playoffs as the 8th seed?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Because Dallas has been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for you to actually be having, what's the name? Najee Marshall as one of your main playmakers. That's got to be a problem for you if you're Dallas. Spencer Dinwiddie is not even available. If he is, he's not playing that much.
Okay.
So that, to me, was the first threat to Dallas advancing.
Okay.
They didn't have many options as perimeter creators.
I do want to ask though, kasi syempre, yung Memphis, they finished the regular season as the 8th seed. So they had to play the Warriors first.
Yeah.
Did you think that they would beat the Warriors or that they would lose to the Warriors and then beat whoever they were going to face?
I had the Warriors winning that game.
Okay.
Yun, ano yun. To me, that was a no-brainer.
Okay.
To me, it was the Jimmy Butler game. It was his opportunity to reintroduce himself as playoff Jimmy. So, as expected, Warriors number 7. And that battle, it was Dallas versus Memphis, right?
Yep.
For the number 8 seed. Yes, AD, 40 points. But what happened after he scored 40 points? He got injured again, Anton. And did you see that cut onto Nico Harrison? After AD was injured. It was so funny. Grabe yun. Yun ang atake talaga sa Dallas Mavericks. And well, that's the end of the season for them. For Memphis, even though medyo kulang-kulang din sila, I just thought they had more pieces compared to Dallas.
The most exciting thing about that Memphis-Dallas game was Ja Morant and AD face-to-face shouting at each other and AD going, I'm here. I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, up
And
until
then he
the
gets
fourth
hurt.
quarter.
Based on game number 1, I think this is probably the most exciting series among all first round series in the playoffs.
Gotta agree. What a game, overtime, and then a lot of emotion. That was, to me, a Russell Westbrook game.
Oh, yeah.
More than a Jokic game, a Jamal Murray game, Harden, Zubac, Kawhi Leonard. It was Russell Westbrook as the headline for game number 1. And to me, that just really adds a lot of spice into this series because he has history with the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
He has history with James Harden, so he has a lot to prove. And given what Denver has been through in this season, the loss of their coach, as you can see, they're not that deep.
Mm-hmm.
Diba? It's the energy of Russ that I think would, kind of suppress yung mga pagkukulang nila. And I think that's one of the factors that will make this series a lot more interesting. But then again, we can't count out the Clippers. I understand where Christian is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Harden has elevated the game of Ivica Zubac. That is crazy, man. For him to be averaging, 20 and 13 since the All-Star break, that in itself, All-Star numbers na yun for Zubac. So, I totally understand that one of you picked Denver, one of you picked the Clippers. If you ask me, that's gonna go 7 games.
7 games. Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of time. I'm gonna throw a few thoughts in before you let everybody know kung sino ang pipiliin mo dito sa series na to. Okay, I saw a headline before coming here that Kawhi Leonard is questionable for game 2. Napanood na natin to. Okay, may nangyari ba sa game number 1 for us to all of a sudden get shocked at the news na baka hindi maglaro si Kawhi sa game number 2. There is no way the Clippers are going to win this series against Denver if Kawhi is not going to be 100%. He played over 40 minutes in game number 1, was impressive, especially towards the end of the regular season. Denver, though, David Adelman, the son of Rick Adelman, who is an offensive-minded coach, played only 8 players. You mentioned this, na short rotation. If I'm worried about Denver, it's because of that. Yung short rotation.
By the way, 8 players, Anton. The 8th player has limited minutes. So it's practically a 7-man rotation for them. But to your point about Kawhi, well, we're all coming from the presumption that Kawhi is going to be able to finish the series. So to your point, kung mawala si Kawhi, then the 7-game prediction is not going to be there anymore. If you ask me, maybe 5 or 6 for Denver. Pero nagugulat pa ba tayo na may ganitong news about Kawhi Leonard?
Yun na nga, ang problema kay Kawhi, baka pag mag-CR lang, pagbalik niya, injured na.
Yeah.
Yun ang problema dito kay Kawhi. All right, Migs, I guess it boils down to whether you believe in Kawhi's health or whether you believe in this very shallow rotation of Coach David Adelman. Your pick for this series, my friend.
Well, man, this is hard. But if I will assume that Kawhi is still healthy, or that he will be able to finish out this series, and this rotation of Denver will still be intact, 7 to 8 players, I'd give it to Denver. I'd give it to Denver in 7 games. They have home court advantage, and I would trust the Joker over Harden, over Kawhi at this point.
So, dalawa kami ni Migs. We are for Denver. Christian picking the Clippers. We shall see. Okay. Another series that started off, and I want to get your opinion on this. The Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The headline was, it's Luka and LeBron versus Anthony Edwards. So parang 2 is better than 1. But in game number 1, it was Anthony Edwards who showed out.
Yeah. Well, he led the way. You can see naman na he wanted to prove something. Against Luka, against LeBron. He was celebrating towards Luka at some point. But it's not just him, Anton, let's face it, their shots went in. 50% 3-point shooting for Minnesota. Hard to stop a team that shoots 50% from downtown. Naz Reid off the bench, 6 threes. Randall, when have you ever seen Julius Randall shoot that efficiently from downtown? 4 out of 6. Ang taas nun. Yung percentage na yun. Jaden McDaniels was their top scorer. He was almost perfect from the field. So, yes, a lot of things went Minnesota's way. Nakulangan din ako sa effort. LeBron in that game, the supporting cast wasn't there. Austin Reeves didn't score 20 points. So, ito yung mga factors that would contribute to you really thinking na kapag ganito yung mga nangyayari, the Lakers won't stand a chance. LeBron has to lead that team a lot better.
Pero alam mo pare, kinakabahan na ako para sa Minnesota eh. Because if there is one player in the NBA that you do not try to piss off, like you don't poke the bear, it's Luka Doncic. Kinakabahan ako sa ginawa ni Anthony Edwards. He hits the three towards the end of the game and he does, I don't know, like...
Is that a Spider-Man?
Tinira niya ng web si Luka Doncic. And, you know, Luka Doncic takes those things personal. We remember the series against Phoenix when he was heading to the locker and he was shouting to the camera, oh, they only act tough when they're up.
Yeah.
Now, he's thinking about Anthony Edwards all day, all night. Babawi to. I don't think it's a good idea for the Ant-Man to poke the bear.
Well, with what I said about shots falling for them, would you actually take Minnesota in the series at this point?
I actually pick LA in this
How many
series.
games?
Man, I think they can end it in 6.
Me too. Same.
I just hope LeBron does not age because 19 points, that's not gonna cut it for LeBron. He had 19, 5, and 3.
3 assists to me. Yun ang mababa for LeBron.
Yeah, so you know, I'm a little bit concerned about that, but it's LeBron James. I mean, he's been wrestling with father time for the longest time now.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Who do you like in this series?
I have the Lakers in 6 also. I do not expect Minnesota to shoot lights out in each and every game. Yes, if Luka's gonna get pissed, then that's gonna be another added factor. I'd like to add one statistic for Luka that I did not like. He only had 1 assist to 5 turnovers. To me, assist to turnover ratio is such a big thing. Later on, I'm gonna bring that up again with Tyrese Haliburton against the Milwaukee Bucks. But yes, the Lakers have a big 3: Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. But of course, you're gonna need a couple more points from the Gabe Vincents, the DFSs of the world. Jackson Hayes has to do better. So, yeah, I think naman na magno-normalize yung mga bagay para sa Lakers in the next games. But the leaders will have to start things for them.
Who is your biggest pretender in the playoffs? Because I think to me and Christian, na-single out yung Houston nung episode 4. And so obviously, ang choice namin dito is experience. Golden State is gonna beat Houston. But I gotta get your answer with regards to that.
At hindi pwede Houston. Hindi pwede Houston ang sagot.
I mean, if you agree with us, I mean, you could throw it out there.
Sige, if I can give you a different answer, I'd like to test our viewers out there.
Sige.
I'll say the Detroit Pistons.
Pretenders.
Yeah.
Detroit. Okay.
Detroit Pistons.
Wow.
Because of what I saw in game 1. Okay. In game 1, they played well in the first 3 quarters. And then they fumbled in the 4th quarter. 7 turnovers, giving up a 21-0 run.
Yeah.
Which to me is a sign of inexperience. Of course, we're going to give time to Cade Cunningham, which is what we're going to give the Rockets as well. Diba? You're going to give it to Asar Thompson. You're going to give it to Jalen Duren. It's just that the Pistons, of course, the build-up for them would be different because they're in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Even though the Rockets had a better record compared to them. But going up against a team like the Knicks, and if they advance, they're gonna go up against Boston. Maybe even Cleveland if they move further. But that's not gonna happen. Do you really think they can beat the Knicks in the first round? Sige, I give it to you. Do you think they're gonna beat the Knicks?
No, they're not gonna beat the Knicks. I feel like they still lack experience. Cade Cunningham is an amazing player. He's going to get better through the years, but they're just not ready. It's that simple. They're not ready. No experience and just not enough star power to handle New York.
Well, I guess what makes them less of a pretender is the fact that they're actually the lower seed in that series. So maybe I'm just talking in the context of they're not going to advance further as of now, but this team has a lot of promise.
All right, let's move on over to the East, my friend. You touched on it a while ago. You mentioned Tyrese Haliburton. Interesting series between Indiana and Milwaukee. And I think it's about to get even more interesting because I feel like Dame time could be coming anytime soon. Because as of this recording, Kakatapos lamang po ng game number 1. And the most interesting thing that happened, aside from the 40-piece of Giannis, was the back and forth of Damian Lillard and Tyrese Halliburton. In street clothes, very nice street clothes, Damian Lillard chirping with Tyrese Halliburton. And nalaman natin na as soon as Milwaukee and Damian Lillard found out na Indiana makakalaban nila, he texted Dr. Rivers and said, send me some film on Indiana. So he has all the intentions of wanting to play in this series.
Well, Indiana beat them last year in the first round. Granted, no Giannis, no Dame. They were injured. So it's retribution time for Milwaukee. First of all, I'd like to say I'm happy that what happened to Dame is not going to sideline him for the rest of the season. Obviously, Milwaukee needs him badly. You saw it in game number 1. They were annihilated by the Indiana Pacers. And sabi mo nga, that chirping by the end is going to be very interesting because I remember Portland versus OKC. Remember that series? Yung bye-bye ni Damian Lillard.
Ah, yes.
The shot from half court. Alam ko may chirping na naganap bago mangyari yun I'm not sure if it was with him and Westbrook or Paul George. Pero alam ko, may trigger din si Damian Lillard yung series na yun that made him a bit more motivated to beat.
Yeah, and internet, please do your thing and let us know because I'm also interested to find out who it was. But I know after that series, PG was saying it was a bad shot. Siya yung nakabantay kay Lillard when he hit that iconic step back 3, followed by the stare down to the camera after when he was being bombarded by his teammates. But yeah, another one of those players that you don't just piss off is Damian Lillard. The thing is, his health, it's up in the air. Kasi hindi biro yung pinagdaanan niya, the blood clot on his calf. Thank God he's not on blood thinning medication anymore. But he looks like he gained a little bit of weight. But I mean, if he can shoot, if he's on the court, his presence there, malaking factor yan.
Well, it was also heavy in the sense na I heard that there was another family member of Damian Lillard's who also had somewhat similar sickness. So, syempre, for him mentally, mas naging challenging yun. But we're all excited for him to return and we hope that he can perform against Indiana because right now, in the regular season, Indiana and Milwaukee faced 4 times. And so far, we've watched game 1. That makes it 5 games between the Pacers and the Bucks. In those 5 games, Anton, we've seen 53 assists from Tyrese Halliburton. Okay, pwede na yun. Normal na yun. 10 point something assists per game. But Anton, 4 total turnovers in 5 games. That is a crazy assist to turnover ratio for Tyrese Halliburton. And if you want to slow the Pacers down, that's the guy that you have to slow down. I don't know what type of solution Doc Rivers has for Milwaukee, but if they can't stop Tyrese Halliburton, then it's going to be hard for them.
Before I go to Tyrese Halliburton, what happened to Torian Prince? What happened to Kyle Kuzma? 21 minutes, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals. Anyari? Ano ginagawa mo dyan?
That is what we would like to call the Tony Snell special.
Oh my God. We gave away, Milwaukee gave away Chris Middleton, who was well loved in the city, for Kyle Kuzma thinking that he would provide that extra scoring punch. He would be like the third guy a la Austin Reeves in LA. But man, he stunk up the place in game number 1. Okay, Tyrese Halliburton. Feeling ko kasi si Damian Lillard, alam niya yan, yung mga stats na binanggit mo. And he's one of those guys, he's one of the old heads now in the league. And he does not want to get one-upped by the people who are up and coming or people who are one of the best point guards in the league right now, like Tyrese Halliburton. So the competitive juices are flowing, and I'm still picking Milwaukee in this series. Christian picked Milwaukee in this series as well. Do I feel like you're leaning towards Indiana, my friend?
No, I'm only saying that this is what the Bucks have to do in order to stop them. But to me, if Damian Lillard returns, if he's in good shape, and Giannis is still there, I would still take Milwaukee.
Mas madali, pumili sa East. Christian and I both picked Boston to come out of the East. He's dreaming of that Boston-LA finals matchup. Is it that easy as well for you to pick that Boston is going to come out of the East?
In terms of picking, yes, I take Boston, but I think it's going to be a very interesting second and third rounds for them. Abangan ko talaga yung New York and Boston battle na yan. Kasi, I think that's going to be a very emotional series. You can see that the Knicks built their lineup to try to counter Boston. They got Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby so that they can defend Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So that's going to be interesting. But I don't think the Knicks are deep enough against the Celtics. So I'll still take the Celtics. And then, ito na. The team that we have been building all season long in the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Come on, man. Nag-gets ko yung sinabi niyo ni Christian yung pinag-usapan ninyo, whether or not Donovan Mitchell can be that guy, the number one option to a championship team. My answer is also no. I'm not convinced with Donovan Mitchell. But I know that he can actually bring a team onto, at least contender status, make them interesting, which is what's happening with Cleveland. He has good supporting staff with Darius Garland, Jarrett Allen, and Evan Mobley, who I think deserves more recognition. And if we're going to talk about all NBA, to me, he has to be a part of that conversation. And then you have Ty Jerome off the bench. Diba? Ty Jerome versus Peyton Pritchard, that's going to be an interesting battle to me. But then again, is it going to be enough against Boston? I'll still take the Boston Celtics against the OKC Thunder.
Who do you think is a bigger threat to Boston? Is it New York or Cleveland? Para sa'yo, saan sila mas mahihirapan? I like your take though that New York built their roster to beat Boston.
That's a good question. Because at first you would think Cleveland Kasi ang ganda ng nilalaro nila this season. But have they proven enough to us that they can actually be that team in the playoffs as well? Where the stakes are higher, the superstars come alive. Whereas on the other end, you have Jalen Brunson already proven for New York. You have Karl Anthony Towns, who's hungry to prove himself. And he has also, given us great games before. I think to me, the question here is Jalen Brunson versus Donovan Mitchell. Who do you believe more? I throw you that question.
Man, I'm gonna go Donovan Mitchell with regards to this one. I think he's had a better year than Jalen Brunson. Para sa akin, kung all-NBA ang pinag-uusapan, and actually I don't have either of these two in the first team. I think they might come in the second or the third team. Donovan Mitchell, I have him in the second team, all-NBA. Pag kinumpara mo yung naging season ni Brunson at Mitchell, mas maganda yung season ni Mitchell. So between the two, I'm gonna take Spider.
Well, Spider. That's in the context of the regular season. Spider actually is averaging 36 points as far as I remember against the Celtics.
Wow.
In this season. So he steps up against Jason Tatum and company. But sa ngayon kasi, if you ask me, if it's playoff time, I'll still trust Jalen Brunson more than Donovan Mitchell. So, let's see. But I'd be interested to actually witness Donovan Mitchell prove us wrong.
All right, so we have touched on all NBA teams. Before we end our discussion here with the early goings in the NBA playoffs, napansin ko lang, naka-Golden State t-shirt ka.
Oh yeah, man.
Mr. Migs Gomez. So, tingin mo ba it's gonna be Golden State and OKC in the West Finals and not LA?
Okay, let's see the picture again. See the picture again. We have the Lakers, the Wolves, the Rockets, and the Warriors. Okay, I'm gonna go Lakers versus Warriors, and that's gonna be a nice series to watch, by the way. Yan ang box office.
Yon. Yan ang labanan ng mga OGs with the new stars of the league, like the Lucas coming in. Yeah.
Okay. To me, Jimmy Butler was such a big difference maker. See him play now. Playoff Jimmy is back. Steph is still Steph. Draymond has emerged again as one of the best defensive players in the league.
May asim pa eh.
I mean, stars versus stars, man. You have that three for Golden State, and then you have Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves for the Lakers. Gosh. I'll take Golden State, man.
Woo! Nadaanan na natin lahat. We spoke about all of the matchups right now and our thoughts with regards to who will advance to the finals. May resibo po kami, so we will always go back to this. When we continue the Pinoy Step Podcast, pag-uusapan naman namin ni Migs Gomez ang potential members na bubuo sa NBA All-First Team.
Basketball is more than just the game. It's the culture, the players, and the stories behind every shot.
Anong pakiramdam na maglaro sa finals?
Paano nga ba talaga ang buhay ng isang pro player?
At anong mga kalokohan ang nangyayari sa dugout?
Lahat yan at marami pang iba pag-uusapan natin dito sa Basketboleros.
Kung mahal mo ang laro, mas lalo mong mamahalin ang podcast na to. Hosted by Ranidel de Ocampo and GB Labrador. Powered by the Arena Plus Sportsbook. Sama-sama sa arena.
Every champion has a story. And behind every success, there's a journey.
Alam mo yung feeling na parang gusto mong sumuko pero lumalaban ka pa rin?
Dahil sa support system, sa passion, at syempre sa sariling determinasyon. Lahat tayo may kwento. And here, we share ours with you.
PB&J is all about the struggles, the wins, and the journey in between. PB&J, Peanut Butter and Jella. Brought to you by Arena Plus Network. Sama-sama sa arena.
Let's go to the next part of our Pinoy Step Podcast, episode 5. We just talked about some playoff matchups in the postseason of the NBA, and now we proceed to our picks for the All-NBA first team and a bit of a touch for the second and third teams. All right, Anton, let's get to it. When I actually researched about the All-NBA picks, of course, I had to read the takes of our analysts who are there in the States. And I noticed a common ground. Which is pretty huge among all these analysts. It's like there are 4 lock-ins, 4 shoe-ins in the All-NBA first team. So isahin natin, of course, the MVP candidates. You have SGA and Nikola Jokic. By the way, that debate remains active up until this day. Kung sino man nanalo ng MVP. The unanimous third guy is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And then the fourth man is Jason Tatum. So basically, the debate is, who's gonna be your number 5 in that All-NBA first team? Kanina, nagbigay ka na ng onting hint sa amin. You're not gonna put in Donovan Mitchell. You're not gonna put in Jalen Brunson. So, who do you have in your first team?
I have the guy who improved tremendously from beyond the arc. And he made history becoming the 7th best shooter in the regular season, tallying a grand total of 320 made threes, the three-point king of the 2024-25 NBA regular season, Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards.
Wow.
I think he should make the NBA first team, first time in his career, 27.6 points per game, a career high, and grabe, 39.5% from beyond the arc. Now I know Minnesota is not high up there in terms of the rankings in the West. Number 6, 49 and 33 win-loss record. But man, historic season, and the way he improved himself with the departure of Karl Anthony Towns. I think he deserves the spot.
Okay. I'd like to react first to his achievement in the three-point shooting category. I also was very surprised that he was able to reach that group. Kasi ano yun eh, it's such a prestigious group, di ba?
Yeah,
Steph, was that Clay?
Yep.
Harden and Malik Beasley?
Just for perspective, Malik Beasley natalo. Natalo ng isang 3-point mid. Talagang sinigurado ni Anthony Edwards that he would get it. Just for perspective, the highest total ever was Steph Curry, 402 made threes in the 2015-16 NBA season.
That was his MVP season, right?
Mhm.
I think his second MVP season. All right. Yeah, I give respect to your take.
Mhm.
You're putting him in the top 5 with his numbers 28-6-5. 3-point shooting, yes, it's there. And let's face it, the loss of Karl Anthony Towns, replacing him with Julius Randle, to me, that was negative yun for the Timberwolves. I'll still take Cat over Randle up to this day. Dante DiVincenzo hasn't also been that same guy from New York onto Minnesota. So, I would also take Ant-Man in terms of being the leading man, the absolute leading man of Minnesota. But to me, the 61 wins? No, 64 wins of the Cleveland Cavaliers just really gives a lot of plus to Donovan Mitchell. And his numbers, 24-5-5 against the 28-6-5 of Anthony Edwards. It's not too far. The standing though, it's far. That's why, to me, I'll give him that All-NBA first team nod.
Ako kasi nung tinignan ko yung mga numbers ni Donovan Mitchell, inantok ako eh. Sabi ko, these numbers are not blowing me away.
Okay.
And when you look at the lineup, sinabi mo nga, Donovan Mitchell has a great supporting cast. He has a lot of help there in Cleveland. Whereas in Minnesota, nagbuhat talaga eh. Itong si Anthony Edwards, he carried Rudy Gobert's heavy 7-foot self.
Oh, the shade to Rudy Gobert, ha?
Kanina.
Kanina pinagtatanggol si Rudy Gobert, ha?
Ako rin pala. And again, just to put more perspective on the significance, I also want to I also want to highlight yung significance ng nagawa ng isang player in a season. Like Nikola Jokic, he became the third player after the Big O and Russell Westbrook to average a triple-double in the regular season. And then, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, scoring champ, first Canadian to become scoring champ. So, dun pa lang, 2 history-making headlines. Yung kay Anthony Edwards, again, 3-point king. And just to put perspective on how important this was, in the year 2000, would you believe that there were only 7 players in the entire league? 7. Mabibilang mo sa mga daliri mo. 7 players in the league who made more than 100 threes. Fast forward 25 years later, you have 139 players in the NBA. Oh my God. That's just insane.
Yeah.
With 100 threes at least.
It's the Steph Curry effect, right?
Yep.
You have James Harden as well in the mix. Anthony Edwards, actually narinig ko na to from the NBA analysts last year that this is the next step for Anthony Edwards to improve his shooting to get a lot better. I actually noticed a pattern mga basketball fans out there in terms of the takes of Anton. Narinig ko na kasi na sa MVP conversation, he's taking Jokic, right? You're taking Jokic against SGA. So it's the individual...
Might be a bad take.
It's the individual capabilities, what he has proven to us, Jokic, against the record of SGA, him leading the best team in the NBA. This is quite similar to the argument to Donovan Mitchell versus Anthony Edwards. Hindi ba? Anthony Edwards, nagbubuhat ng Minnesota. Much like Jokic, binubuhat ang Denver against Donovan Mitchell, the best player in the best team of his conference.
Para sa akin kasi, yung effect ni Donovan Mitchell and yung effect ni Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, malayo eh. Hindi naman scoring champion si Donovan Mitchell. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the scoring champion of the NBA, and the way he affects the game, the way he raises the level of his teammates, is not the same. I don't think Donovan Mitchell raises the level of his teammates the way that SGA does. So I think there's a huge difference in terms of that. And also another thing, when you think about who you want to get to start an NBA franchise, I think that matters with regards to MVP. I don't think there are people who are going to say, oh, I want to start an NBA franchise with Donovan Mitchell. I feel like there might be 10 guys who will be taken ahead of him with regards to who they want as the centerpiece of their squad. So that's where I'm at in terms of like the Donovan Mitchell and SGA. I don't think it's the same argument.
Okay, so yes, I do get your point there, and I think that's why SGA is a lock in the first team in the MVP conversation as compared to Donovan Mitchell, who's barely making it into the first team in our conversation. Yes, I gave you my take. Donovan Mitchell as a member of the first team. I also mentioned a while ago, I want to honor his teammate, Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley, to me, would make the third team. Ganon. Ganon ko i-honor siya. And the same would apply to Jalen Williams. The best teams, to me, would warrant at least 2 all NBA selections. Come on, man. 68 wins for OKC. 64 wins for Cleveland. You might want to even argue that Boston should also have 2 because they had 60 plus wins. Pero sige, hindi na dahil masyado nang deep yung natin, yung race natin. And the fact that we actually have, let me count, dami nito. 10 teams with 48 to 52 wins in this season. What a race that was in the Western Conference, from the Rockets, number 2 seed, all the way to the Grizzlies. That's what number play-in teams na to eh. Number 8 seed na sila eh. So Western Conference. They were separated by 2 wins. Diba? Ganun ka-tight yung race in the Western Conference. That's why to me, it was also a tight race in selecting the All-NBA selection. So, the second team, just so I would give you a rundown, I'm taking in Cade Cunningham. Anthony Edwards would be there for me. LeBron, Steph Curry, and there's one more guy. James Harden. I'm gonna put him in the mix.
Stellar year for the beard.
And he got the Clippers all the way to the number 5 seed. I want to talk about one guy though. Kasi na-mention mo kanina na you're honoring Anthony Edwards as one of the guys who you would start a franchise with.
Yep.
If we want to go to that conversation, my answer would be Cade Cunningham. Why? Because, yes, alam na natin to. The Pistons are looking good in this season. Cade Cunningham is their absolute all-star. But I listened to a podcast of Tim Legler as well. And he quoted J.V. Bickerstaff, the head coach of the Detroit Pistons, saying that Cade Cunningham is the most empathetic player that he has ever seen. So empathy, that's one of the biggest strengths of Cade Cunningham. To me, that's going to take in a lot in terms of his leadership quality for Detroit. That has a lot of promise.
Can you explain that in basketball terms? How can a basketball player be empathetic? So in this case, how is Cade Cunningham showing empathy towards a guy like Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart?
Okay, maybe, I don't know this as a fact because I'm not in the practices of Detroit. Again, we're just coming from the quote of J.V. Bickerstaff. I'm sure he sees moments wherein Cade approaches his teammates, knowing how to lead them, knowing what to say to them, how to give advice to them as to how they're going to move on the floor. So maybe his empathy is one of the things that actually keeps Isaiah Stewart in the rotation for Detroit. Diba? I'm sorry to compare this, but Steph Curry to Draymond Green. For all we know, if Steph's leadership is not that good, Draymond could be out of the league. Draymond could be, in a bad team right now, having bad relationships with everybody. I'm sure Steph has something to do with this. The fact that Draymond is still effective for the Warriors. Maybe that translates to Cade Cunningham also having that type of leadership onto Isaiah Stewart. I don't know. We'll never know. Not until we're there in the practice sessions of Detroit. But to me, I'll take that as a win. That type of description for Cade.
So to answer my question earlier in terms of like, how can a basketball player show empathy towards his teammates? It's pretty much a guy who makes sure that he looks out for all of his teammates.
Yeah.
A guy who brings them all in, a guy who checks up on them.
Mhm.
And it makes me think about the different leadership styles. Like you had a guy like the late Kobe Bryant who was not very team oriented. He was very to himself. He would work out on his own and he had expectations. So it's a different so iba, no?
Iba yung style.
He was successful with that style.
And Michael Jordan was like that as well. You would see it in the documentaries how hard they were with their teammates. I personally grew up with that type of mentality as well. Yung hard-nosed, tough love. But let's face it, times have changed.
Yeah.
People might be more sensitive nowadays.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying the NBA has gone soft.
Yeah. So maybe that type of new leadership would be the effective way moving forward.
When I hear the word empathy kasi parang naisip ko bine-baby mo yung mga teammates mo eh.
I'm sure ano yun. I'm sure JB Bickerstaff meant it as a way or in a way na effective pa rin talaga yung pagiging empathetic ni Cade Cunningham.
And going back to what you were saying now, we're not in the Detroit practices, but looking at Cade Cunningham, yung itsura niya and his demeanor on the court, di ko may imagine, okay ka lang ba? Beef stew, kumain ka na ba?
Maybe not like that. Come on. Come on, Anton. Ginawa mo naman sobrang soft si Cade Cunningham. The NBA is not that soft. Come on.
All right, brother. Anything you want to add to the things that you looked up in terms of the stats and who's deserving to make an all-NBA team, be it the third team, second team? Because I think we're in agreement with the four, SGA, Tatum, Giannis, Joker. Magkaiba lang tayo with the fourth player kasi that fourth spot was Lucas. But Luka, of course, only played 50 games this season, so he's not eligible. Hindi siya umabot sa 65. Anything more you want to add with regards to the All-NBA?
In terms of statistics, I just want to highlight Jokic's stats. You've been mentioning the historic season.
Yeah, man.
But man, top 3 in points, rebounds, and assists. I'm hearing analysts say that this hasn't been done ever.
Yeah.
But I read online it's been done by Wilt Chamberlain before. Kailan pa ba yun? Di ba? Tsaka, iba pa naman yung stats back then. Come on, man. Parang exaggerated di ba? Yung 50 points per game. So, maybe practically speaking, it's like the first time that we're able to witness greatness like this for Nikola Jokic. That's why, ang hirap ng debate between him and SGA. So, that makes his case, obviously.
Kaya, I'm still picking Nikola Jokic. To be honest, I'm not yet 100% completely sold that SGA is a superstar. Although, after watching game number 1, grabe, I'm starting to lean towards, okay, it's time to start believing. It's time to start not ignoring what SGA is. And it's on paper. First Canadian player to become a scoring champ. Pero yun nga, history yung kay Jokic, first big man to average a triple-double. He's also another transcendent player. Pero tingin ko, Migs, siya biktima ng voters fatigue.
Yeah.
I think he is a victim of voters fatigue. Giannis is also a victim of voters fatigue. So, tingin ko in the end, iboboto ng mga tao and all those who have votes itong si SGA. But if I had a vote, I think I would still give it to Nikola Jokic.
Tell you what though, look at the playoff bracket again. Who's gonna meet in the second round? Who's gonna meet in the second round, Anton? If OKC wins versus Memphis and Denver beats the Clippers, maybe that series could be the determining factor.
Kawhi Leonard, magbakasyon ka na.
Pilay ka naman na ulit, di ba?
Questionable na naman. Questionable for game 2. Oh my God. Okay. Migs, so it was announced earlier, pinapanood ko sina Ernie Johnson, Shaq, Kenny, and Charles, and they mentioned the nominees, man, for the individual awards. So let's just run it down. Coach of the Year, Kenny Atkinson of Cleveland, JB Bickerstaff of Detroit, and Ime Udoka.
Hirap.
Who you got, man?
Hirap, man. Hirap.
Ito pare ako, I think I'm gonna go Ime Udoka. Kasi I mean, ang bata ng team ng Houston and then natapos sila ng number 2 seed. Man, you gotta be some mind. You have to have that sort of influence to get these young cats together.
At first, I thought I'd give it to JB Bickerstaff because among all the 3 rosters that you mentioned, Houston, Detroit, and Cleveland, I think the Pistons have the weakest roster. But they do also have the worst record among those 3. Diba? Let's face it, Houston's number 2 in the Western Conference. So, laking bagay nun.
Didn't see that coming.
I mean, there's a reason why we're considering them pretenders. Diba? And to me, a lot that has to do with them being pretenders it's because they're just well coached. Yun eh. Nadala sila nung coach nila, who, by the way, he already proved himself in Boston.
Yeah.
Ime Udoka. He was supposed to be that guy. He established this Boston core, this Boston culture, whatever system that they had. I'm sure Joe Mazzulla just improved it in his own way. Pero nagsimula lahat yan kay Ime Udoka. At the same time, man, I hope everybody gives respect to the Cleveland head coach.
Yeah.
Grabe yun. Kasi, like, on a normal basis, you would think that, yes, Donovan Mitchell is not the guy. Maybe he could be like the Utah Donovan that would lead them into the playoffs, make things exciting. But for them to be actually number 1, which I think Utah was like that also before, no? Pero sa ngayon kasi parang mas convincing eh. Mas convincing itong Cleveland na to eh. Yes, he also truly deserves that respect. Pero parang slight edge din ako kay Ime.
Feeling ko itong si Kenny Atkinson, biktima siya ng yung kasabihan dito sa Philippines na pag nananalo ang team, magaling ang players. Pag natatalo ang team, bobo ang coach. So kung ma-eliminate ng Boston itong Cleveland, yan, pag-uusapan na siya. Pag-uusapan na siya. Ngayon kasi hindi siya pinag-uusapan eh. Puro Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell. Pero yan, mabibiktima siya ng kasabihan natin dito sa Pilipinas. Yun nga, pag magaling ang team, magaling ang players, pag banu ang team, bobo ang coach.
Ang coach. Yeah.
Alright, let's go to the next one. Kia NBA Clutch Player of the Year. Maganda to, pare. Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Nikola Jokic, endgame situation, Migs Gomez. Kanino mo ibibigay ang bola? Nagulat ako pare game number 1, Nikola Jokic. Pinasa kay Westbrook. I mean, given that he was double teamed, pinasa kay Westbrook. Tumalon si Westbrook, tas hindi tinira. Pailing na lang si Jamal eh.
It's kind of typical Westbrook, no? For him to make a wild decision like that after making all the right plays
Wild decision
for Denver.
His feet.
Pero kasi I think that's what makes Denver work eh. Yung wildness ni Russell Westbrook and yung talino, yung poise ni Nikola Jokic. They're able to balance each other out. Kaya to me, sige, tanggap na ni Jokic yung play na yon. Let's just win it in overtime. But I like how you put the question in that context.
Yeah.
Ano tayo? Let's forget about the stats. How many clutch?
Kanino mo ibibigay yung bola?
Kanino bibigay? And
end of the world has to make a shot to save the world.
My answer is Jokic. How about you? That's who I trust, man.
It's definitely not Brunson.
Okay.
Sorry about the
so
shade.
So Anthony Edwards, go. Let's.
Sorry about the shade. Okay. Eto Para you know what? I feel like syempre nobody's gonna come close. Kobe was the closest to MJ. But if there's a player in today's game who has that MJ gene,
it's Anthony Edwards.
It's the Ant-Man, bro. So I will give it to the Ant-Man, given that in recent history, pinasa ni Jokic ang bola kay Russell Westbrook. So for this debate, Ant-Man ako. Pinasa ni Jokic of all people. The Joker gave it to Westbrook. Oh, man.
May recency bias tayo dito sa podcast na to, ha?
All right,
Good point, though. Good point.
Let's move on to the NBA Sixth Man of the Year. We have Malik Beasley, Ty Jerome, and Peyton Pritchard.
Oh, ito na yung sinasabi natin. Di ba? That matchup between the top two sixth men in the top two teams. Does Malik Beasley actually have a good argument in this? Oh man, I don't know.
Mahirap kasi ang second place argument eh. Oo, second ka kay Ant-Man. Sa 3 points made. Pero second ka pa rin eh.
I'm gonna give it to Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, me too. Peyton Pritchard.
I mean, for him to actually be, performing like this alongside Tatum, Brown, White, and Holiday, parang skip na nga nun eh. Di ba? I was even surprised that he was getting the amount of shots that he is. Tapos ito. Babalik ko yung 2K, yung 2K fandom ko. Nagugulat ako na sa simulation ng 2K, wala na sa starting lineup ng Boston si Drew Holiday.
No.
It's Peyton Pritchard. Eventually, he gets put in the starting 5. He's been that good for Boston. So, that's when I first got the idea na, he's getting real. Pero in real life, I'll still take Drew Holiday over Peyton Pritchard.
But for NBA Sixth Man of the Year, Migs and I are in agreement. We go Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
All right. NBA Most Improved Player. I think this is easy, but let's see. Cade Cunningham, Dyson Daniels, Ivica Zubac. Cade ako dito, pare. Cade Cunningham.
Okay. I love that you bring that up.
Yeah.
Because I heard from Austin Rivers in yet another talk show. Sorry kasi yung mga talk show talaga yung mga pinapanood ngayon, yung mga podcast.
Yan yung kino-consume ni Migs.
Yan dapat yung mga pinapanood natin, including the Pinoy Step podcast. Okay. Austin Rivers said, the improvement of Cade Cunningham has been expected all along. Isn't it supposed to be the jump that he's gonna do? He was the number 1 pick, right? He was a number 1 pick. He's supposed to be a star. Whereas, did you expect Ivica Zubac to be playing like this? A 20 and 13 guy? That's all-star numbers for you. Once upon a time, Zubac was, a center for the Lakers who we thought had promise, but nobody really expected him to be a star. And then Dyson Daniels comes in. Boy, he was I think you talked about it with Christian. Para siyang shoe-in lang dun sa trade. Diba? Ni DeJounte. He wasn't a big deal. And yet here he is as one of the candidates for Defensive Player of the Year as well. But if you ask me, I'll go Ivica Zubac because who would have thought that he could put up numbers like this? Even though, we already have the notion that James Harden could make his big men improve. It's just that we need to give credit to Zubac.
Kahit na kinakain siya ng buhay ni Nikola Jokic.
Iba naman kasi to. Regular season to, di ba?
Alright. Eto, mainit to, pare. NBA Defensive Player of the Year, Dyson Daniels of Atlanta, Evan Mobley of Cleveland, and he's still in the mix, Draymond Green. No Rudy Gobert this year.
Come on. Voters fatigue na tayo, please. Kay Rudy Gobert. Alam niyo naman na yung mangyayari sa playoffs.
Pero alam mo, pare, dapat ganahan si Rudy Gobert eh. Kasi, di ba, he's like one Defensive Player of the Year award from being the all-time leader. Parang ganun eh, di ba?
Kaso, mahirapan siya. And Anton, with Wemby in the mix? Remember the Wemby AD conversation at the start?
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard for Rudy Gobert.
Okay.
Sige, let's go back to the 3. I know your pick is Draymond.
Yeah.
Na-mention mo yun sa previous episode natin. I'm a Warriors fan because of Steph Curry. But I also mentioned that I wanted to give credit to Lou Dort and Evan Mobley because again, record means a lot to me. Winning means a lot to me.
I'm actually surprised, bro, na wala si Lou Dort dito.
I think it's because Dyson Daniels has been that good for Atlanta. Para silang nagbubuhat dun eh. Offense, Trae Young, and then defense, Dyson Daniels. Plus, it's hard to not honor the perimeter defenders. Another analyst said this. in his own platform. I'm not sure if it was Tim Legler or Brian Windhorst. But um it if you actually think about it, parang mas mahirap na nga talaga yung trabaho ng perimeter defenders. Because now, they pick up full court.
Yeah.
Diba? They pick up full court, they defend all the way up until the drives, the shots, they fight screens, as compared to big men who are help defenders. Nag-aabang sila eh. Diba? They see everything. Yes, they're like the para silang center ng defense. Pero yung effort na binibigay ng perimeter defenders, to me, ano yun? Dapat ma-honor natin yun. So yes, Lou Dort qualifies in that conversation, but Dyson Daniels, him getting 3 steals a game, him being able to elevate Atlanta's defense, coming out of nowhere at that, I think that warrants a lot of respect. But my answer here, man, Mobley, Green, Daniels. I was supposed to go Mobley, but now I'm going Daniels. I'm going Dyson Daniels with that argument that it seems like perimeter defending is much harder than interior defending.
I remember having a debate a couple of years back. This was when Rudy Gobert was still with Utah. So in debate namin was, this person I was debating against was going for Rudy Gobert. He was defending Rudy Gobert's case as Defensive Player of the Year. Ako naman, I was defending Draymond Green. And my reasoning was, maraming Rudy Gobert sa NBA na rim protector, 7 foot tall, pero nag-iisa lang ang Draymond Green. There is only one watchdog who is as wise and as vocal and as energetic as Draymond Green. So I'm going Draymond Green for this case of Defensive Player of the Year, the same way I did when those two players were going at it several years back.
And let's face it, Draymond is a good defender perimeter-wise as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have a good argument there. I'm not also too big on Dyson Daniels being a lock on it.
Okay, eto. Dito ako pinaka nahirapan actually. Because, I mean, it's kind of sad that yung mga rookies natin this year didn't really make quite an impact. Like, hindi sila masyado pinag-usapan. So, the nominees are Stephon Castle, Zachary Ricochet, and Jalen Wells.
Okay. Jalen Wells, first of all, sayang napilayan siya. He would have been effective in the play-in pa lang, defending Steph Curry. I think if he was there, they could have beaten Golden State. Kasi nakita ko nahirapan si Scottie Pippen Jr. Hirapan siya. If you're going up against Steph Curry, length would be a factor.
Si Scottie Pippen Jr., pigang-piga na yun against Golden State. Hey, hats off to Scottie Pippen Jr.
Yeah.
He worked his way up to becoming a starter.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not saying that if Jalen Wells was there, it's gonna be him full time against Steph Curry. Shifts yan.
Yes.
With him and Scottie Pippen. But I don't think he's gonna make it. I think Ricochet made a good late season push. Kumbaga, it really took time. Diesel siya sa Atlanta, pero grabe promise yan French national team. Look out, everybody, for the French national team.
Yeah.
Ricochet, Alex Sarr, Victor Wembanyama. That's crazy. So, yes, we honor him. But I gotta go with my Spurs, man. I gotta go with Stephon Castle.
I knew you were. you kept inserting his name in the mix the first time you were here on the show. Yeah, you giving love to Stephon Castle.
Tsaka, ang ganda kasi Anton ng program ng Spurs in terms of developing talent. To me, the fact that they traded away the number 8 pick, which was Rob Dillingham, immediately to the Timberwolves for, as joked before, for an elementary student nowadays. That just told me that they're really all in on Stephon Castle, which I think has paid off so far, and he's gonna be a great complement to De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, or maybe even Cooper Flagg next year.
Yeah, still up in the air with regards to Cooper Flagg and his decision as to whether he's gonna come back to Duke or enter the NBA draft. Para sa akin, dito sa NBA Rookie of the Year, alam mo yung hindi ka nakapag-aral for a quiz, the shotgun mo na lang. So I'm gonna shotgun this.
Sige.
I'm gonna go with Ricochet.
Ricochet. Okay.
Based on potential and based on what we envision for him in the future. All right, the last award here. Most valuable player, nadaanan na natin to. The nominees are Giannis, SGA, and the Joker. This is a no-brainer in terms of the three being very deserving. Si Giannis matagal ng biktima ng voters.
Oh, nga eh.
Ngayon si Nikola Jokic. So, the odds favor SGA.
I want to do something though.
Sige,
Kasi we've been
sige.
talking about this for episodes already. I want to give you like one solid minute.
Okay.
One solid minute of making the case for Nikola Jokic. Tuloy-tuloy lang. All the arguments for him. And I'll do my minute for SGA.
So, Nikola Jokic, once again, his name is in the mix when it comes to who the best player in the NBA is. But we're just talking about the best player in the NBA. Everybody knows Nikola Jokic, the Joker. It is no joke. He is the best player in the world this year, making history as part of the All-NBA first team and also becoming the third player in NBA history to become a triple-double machine in terms of averaging over double figures in points, rebounds, and assists. So making history, being the best player in the world, and again, a guy that I would love to start an NBA franchise with. Para sa akin, Nikola Jokic, already an NBA champion. I think he should be the choice with regards to most valuable player.
Okay. All right. Beautifully put, Anton Rojas. And let's just hope for your case na yung voters fatigue nga will not take effect this year. If I could make the case for his opponent, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander deserves to be the MVP of the NBA this year because he is the best player in the best team in the NBA. Much like Steph Curry when he was in his prime with the Warriors, leading the team. Well, up until now, he's the leader of the team. But SGA, man, he's young. He is unstoppable offensively. He can pull up. He can drive all the way. Gets a lot of free throw attempts. And defensively, by the way, SGA is no joke. A lot of people can argue that he can actually qualify into an all-defensive team in the NBA. So a two-way player, and his leadership has translated onto wins. 68 wins against the 50 of the Denver Nuggets. That's an 18-win difference. If you ask me, that should be the difference as well as to who will win the MVP in the season. It has to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I have to applaud that one right there. This man came prepared. All right. So that wraps up our discussion with regards to the individual awards as well as our thoughts as to who deserves to be a part of our All-NBA first team. Sinabi namin kanina, iibahin namin yung atake para sa episode na to with regards to our Pinoy Step podcast. And when we continue the show, we will end the show with our fast break of headlines. Pinoy Step Podcast is brought to you by Arena Plus Network, your ultimate fast break to NBA action. Stay updated with the latest takes by subscribing to the Arena Plus Network and Pinoy Step Podcast YouTube channel. Listen and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Your support is like a perfect assist. It helps keep the show going. Sama-sama sa Arena. Like the New York Knicks in game number 1 of the first round against the Detroit Pistons, we are going to go on a 21-0 fast break run to end the show. Dadaanan lang namin ni Migs to because we've talked about so much. We've talked up a storm. Ja Morant playing through an ankle sprain as the Grizzlies lock up the number 8 seed. We talked about Ja a lot on the show. Pero yun nga it's gonna be a tall order for him despite having the potential to put up blockbuster games. It's just gonna be too tough. OKC is just too good, too much.
I'm just gonna go wishful thinking here. if we want to talk about Ja Morant, then Ja, this is your series to prove yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Why not do it against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the rest of the Oklahoma City Thunder? We've been talking about him as sayang kasi hindi na siya pwede maging face of the NBA. Ang daming drama sa kanya. But, there was promise all this time. I mean, yung talent niya naman, it's not supposed to, be gone at this point. He's relatively young. So, again, if I'm gonna be wishful for Ja Morant, make a statement now against the best player, at least to me, in this season of the NBA.
Yeah, naunahan siya ni Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because parang ang nangyari was si Ja was already being talked about as yun nga face of the NBA and one of the best point guards in the NBA down the road. But now naunahan siya ni SGA, but I like your take na yun nga, he has a chance to show out and prove that maybe individually he might win the battle. He might win the battle but lose the war. But still, diba, maaalala siya ng tao and reinsert his name in the conversation as a potential face in the NBA. I do want to say this, face of the NBA. I do want to say this. So naglabas yung Nike ng Ja Morant 3. It's a really nice shoe. The fact that Nike stuck it out with Ja despite all of his on-court issues means that they have full belief in the kid's potential. Again, 25 years old lang itong si Ja Morant. So that says a lot that Nike, a company like Nike, hindi siya binitawan. The way na binitawan si Kyrie, 'di ba? Even Manny Pacquiao. So high hopes for Ja Morant.
I have nothing to add there. I just agree na hopefully he just turns things around kasi sayang box office siya eh. I mean, the way he goes 360 for layups, he posterizes big men for dunks. This guy was very exciting to watch. I hope he gets up there once again.
Another team that was able to sneak into the playoffs via the play-in, the Miami Heat. And kung may playoff Jimmy Butler, merong play-in hero. Hero averaged 34 points in the 2 games in the play-in. Play-in hero, pare.
That's a thing now.
Hindi playoff hero eh. Play-in hero.
Are you convinced with Tyler Hero now, Anton?
I'm a big fan of Tyler Hero actually. May Tyler Hero jersey ako. Actually, when Butler was there, mas pinili ko pang bumili ng Hero jersey. I like his game. It's just that obviously binibigyan siya ng chance ni Pat Riley to be the number 1 option, to be the number 1 decision maker. But I'm still not convinced that he can be the best player on a team that could become a champion one day.
Well, if he turns around and translates play-in hero to playoff hero, then maybe he will have a good case to being the best player in a championship team. Pero malayo pa nga yun. Here's my take though about this headline. It's not about Miami. It's actually about the loser, the Hawks, and their star, Trae Young. Anton, do you think he's rotting in Atlanta?
Rotting.
Man.
I think it's one of those situations where feeling ko kasi si Trae, he's like Giannis and Devin Booker. I can envision him staying with one franchise for the rest of his career. He just has to stick it out. But yun nga, ang dami niyang issues. But I'm gonna say no. I don't think he's rotting in Atlanta. I just feel like this is an issue with regards to the executive department.
Okay.
Like the front office. It's a GM problem. I feel like they have to get the right people, the right players, the right coach around Trae Young for Trae Young to make another deep run in the playoffs.
I'm taking that in a sense that you have Dyson Daniels as your shooting guard, Zachary Risache as your small forward. Hopefully, Jalen Johnson will be able to return from injury as soon as possible and, actually align with the starting 5. And Onyeka Okongwu.
Gumagaling yun.
Gumagaling yun. Actually, he's just been waiting for his time to shine because he's been playing behind Clint Capella for a couple of years now. My question is Trae Young actually gonna be patient enough to let those guys catch up?
Yun ang tanong.
'Di ba? Kasi relatively bata pa eh. 'Di ba? Sa ngayon, hindi ka pa talaga convinced that they can, make a playoff push with that lineup. Trey is not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And I am seeing a lot of comments or ideas online about trades for Trey
Yeah.
Young. Just hear this out,
Yeah.
okay? Hear this out.
Oo.
The most interesting trade destination or landing spot for Trey Young for me is Orlando.
Mm.
Because you have Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero there right now. They're pretty good offensively. But it's their defense that's really raising them up in the NBA. Talking about Orlando. Jalen Suggs, he's been out. Jonathan Isaac, you can't really trust his health. Wendell Carter, okay na, pwede na. But what if Trey Young could actually be that missing piece for them? You know, you might need to trade Jalen Suggs for this.
Mm-mm.
Or the players at the bench, Anthony Black, Cole Anthony, but maybe it's that one superstar that would help elevate the Orlando Magic onto contending status. The other destination, Anton, ironically, it's the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Miami Heat, the team that just beat them. But of course, that would, take Wiggins maybe away from Miami, maybe even Tyler Hero, which would actually make more sense for Atlanta because they need a star to develop. Trey Young, if they can pair him with Bam Adebayo, potentially even Giannis, that's going to be interesting for Miami. Personally, I just want a change to happen for Trey Young. Kasi ako, natatagalan na ako sa kanya sa Atlanta. And it's not like there's any indication of them contending anytime soon.
Yeah, he's at that situation where he's at the crossroads. Is he going to demand the trade? Is he going to ask his agent to facilitate the trade to a better situation? Pero yun nga, sa Atlanta kasi, he's the guy. He has the keys to the city. So would you take that risk? Give that key back and try to see if the grass is greener somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think that's a situation that a lot of NBA stars go through. And let's see. But yun nga, we differ in terms of what he should do. I feel like he should stay. But yun nga, we'll see kung ano mangyayari. Let's just hope Ricochet gets better.
Yeah. The timeline has to speed up to help Trey Young.
Okay, our last headline. Rob Pelinka.
And big, huh?
President and GM. So parehas na sila ng kaibigan niyang si Nico Harrison.
Magkaibigan sila. After what happened?
Yeah, after he finessed Nico Harrison into getting Luka Doncic. Because of that move, which is arguably the biggest coup in NBA history, all of a sudden, they gave Rob Pelinka all the power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're able to pull off something like that, and the Lakers finishing number 3 in the West, something na hindi naman in-expect, well, it's well-deserved. And it's hindi naman bago to na isang tao hawak na yung dalawang position na yan, na President of Basketball Operations and GM.
Well, that just made me interested to anticipate what's gonna happen for the Lakers in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi sila they had the trade rescinded. There was an absolute missing piece, which was another big man.
Mm.
So that leaves the next offseason for us to wait for that change. Ano mangyayari? Rob Pelinka, what are you gonna do now that you're there, comfortable, sitting in your position? You know that the Lakers trust you. So can you actually deliver a good big man for LeBron and Luka Doncic, also Austin Reeves? Yun. Sa ngayon, honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things why hindi pa rin ako sold sa Lakers. Kasi alam kong may kulang May last step sila na hindi nagawa nung trade deadline.
I feel like they should look for a big man who is hindi naman past his prime, but is already on the descent in terms of na-reach na yung peak niya and then is on the descent. The same way Marc Gasol was when he eventually became a champion with Toronto. Feeling ko kung makahanap sila ng ganong klaseng big man, may laban itong Lakers. And like Trae Young situation, they gotta do something fast because LeBron is is not getting any younger, and we're already starting to see some signs of decline. And it's for real this time.
Ako naman, I think they need to get a big man on the rise.
Okay.
Because LeBron's gonna be leaving in a couple of seasons. Like, you're gonna need that next star to Luka Doncic. Is it gonna be Austin Reeves? Or are we comfortable considering Austin Reeves as the third option? Which means that whoever that big man is should be the number 2 option to Luka Doncic. Right now, it's kind of hard to, just pick top of our mind kung sino man yung magiging big man na yon. I've always thought, guys like Walker Kessler, could at least show us some potential to it. It's too early even for him. I just think na he's also rotting in Utah. Walker Kessler. And you would want to get him cheap. Diba? As compared to naging star na siya, tsaka mo pa lang siya kukunin. Try to develop him while he's young.
Na ako sa word na rat parang nabubulok no? Trae Young nabubulok sa Atlanta. Kawawa naman. Bakit ko naiisip si Rudy Gobert sa possible center ng Lakers in the future?
Ikaw?
Hindi, naiisip ko.
Yeah,
Rudy Gobert.
Because he's that rim protector that they need. Pero yun na nga ulit, Anton, pagdating ng playoffs, di ba? Makakalaro ba siya?
Yun na nga, feeling ko like he's past his peak. I don't know. Again, that's a topic for another day. But brother, again, another great discussion in another jam-packed episode of the Pinoy Step Podcast. Shout out sa lahat ng mga nag-engage sa amin, whether it is you're messaging us on Instagram, on Facebook, and of course, on TikTok. We love the support, and we hope to see you again next week on another episode. Brother, playoffs just beginning and things are about to get interesting. May mga resibo tayo dito. And for sure, babalikan natin itong mga resulta.
Yeah.
Nagkamali na kami ni Christian. Si Migs, malalaman natin how many mistakes he's gonna make along the way. We'll see.
Next week, gusot-gusot na to. Itong paper na to ni Anton. Ano pa yan? Ilang buwan pa yan? Hanggang June pa yan.
So again, maraming salamat sa inyong pakikinig at panonood. For Migs Gomez, my name is Anton Rojas. Nagsasabing maraming salamat sa inyong pagtutok dito sa Pinoy Step Podcast, and we will see you again next week for episode 6 of the Pinoy Step Podcast. Sama-sama sa arena.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Arena Plus Sportsbook, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.